Today we're going to be bringing you Gwenpool 2. That's actually the name of the storyline. It's the sequel to the original Gwenpool. This is the Comicstorian full story channel where we take some of the playlists off of the Comicstorian channel and turn them into one giant video for you to enjoy at your leisure. We turn them into an audio drama, which allows you to know what's going on in the world of comic books so that you can go pick them up for your collection whenever you want. Now let's get into the Gwenpool 2 storyline. Has anyone ever looked at a pregnant lady before and had the urge to squeeze her like a toothpaste tube? Follow-up question, do doctors delivering babies get the same satisfaction high as the pimple-popping doctors? Gasp! Wait! Is this internal monologuing? Does this mean? Gwenpool rips down the panel shouting, "It does! We're in a Gwenpool solo story! And I'm Gwenpool, if you couldn't tell. Let's take a quick peek at the next page and see if this is a one-shot or..." Okay, not to sound ungrateful, but... Anyway, let's get things straight. Let's go over a few things. First, she's not Gwen Stacy or Girl Deadpool. Speaking of which, unlike Deadpool, she is pretty much intended to be a subverse, self-aware commentary of Cape Comics. Think of it like a conversation between the fans and the creators from the page. Another thing to note is that she's pretty much always under constant threat of getting retconned out of the 616 existence because it's part of her actual character origins. She's still very much earning her place in the world, even if she can't automatically get booted back to where she's from. There's plenty more to cover, but the too long didn't read is that she's from the real reality and just happens to live in the comic book world on purpose. No one believes her about being a comic though, and they mostly think that she's insane or mysterious. But whatevs, is that really her problem? You all know that she's telling the truth though, right? Like, could a Marvel character say something like, "I'd let Dinah Lance kick me in the face and I'd be thankful for it"? Okay, readers, so recap 5 minutes ago. Gwenpool was robbing a bank in her pajamas. As Gwenpool fires off the last rounds of her gun, she looks down at the pregnant woman sitting there and tells her, "If you pop, the cops will be called, so keep the nugget tucked in there." The teller then pushes a bag of money over the glass window, stating that that's all they have right now. The manager has to come down and open the big safe for more cash. Gwenpool looks at the bag, stating, "No, I'm good." And the teller asks, "Are you sure? Because I could really call the manager right now." The teller continues, "It wouldn't be a problem. Watch, I can do it right now." But Gwenpool sticks the gun into his face, shouting, "No! No means no!" And that's when Gwenpool's gun is yanked out of her hand and Spider-Man swings in yelling, "Hey, stop!" Gwenpool yells, "Spider-Man, finally! I need a favor." As Gwenpool walks, her pants fall off. And Spider-Man tells her that that's gonna be a firm no. The cops are already en route. She takes off her disguise, telling him, "Look, false alarm! See? It's Gwenpool!" Spider-Man pauses and asks, "So you're not robbing a bank?" She takes out her fancy Geiger counter and says, "The only thing that I'm robbing from this bank is all of the dangerous radioactive materials currently here." Spider-Man jumps down. "I'm very confused." And Gwenpool tells him, "I get that a lot, but this here is my trusty Geiger counter. I'm just checking the..." Spider-Man swats her hand away, stating that she's creeping up on his leg. And she says, "That's a fair one." So then he asks, "What about the bullets?" And Gwenpool tells him, "Oh, it's because radiation rises. Duh." Just wait a second wait a second. Is this thing working? Listen, I need a favor, Peter. Gwenpool begins to pull up Spider-Man's mask and he quickly pulls it back down, asking, "Are you insane? Did anyone see? Why would you do something like that?" So she tells him, "Look, I'm sorry, I just need you to bite me or give me spider powers so that I can stay in this universe. Besides, everyone read Civil War. Unmasking a Spider-Man is basically a rite of passage these days. I unmasked Miles in a different universe and it turned out fine." Everyone in the bank stops staring and Gwenpool looks around, telling them all, "Jeez, I haven't had this many people give me the stink eye since I showed my family my senior photo." And as Gwenpool shows Spider-Man her senior photo, he whips her to the ground. And she yells, "This was the losing death in the Monster Girl dating sim I couldn't finish." So Spider-Man asks, "How do you lose it up? You know what? Never mind. I'm not radioactive. The Spider-Man that bit me was." He starts to take the hostages out and Gwenpool yells, "Hey, can you help a girl out? Irradiate me or something?" So he shouts, "Go irradiate yourself. Stay put." Soon Gwenpool begins to hear sirens and she starts hopping around, stating, "I have to get out of here. Going to jail's not an option." And just then, the sound of someone vomiting can be heard. Gwenpool looks over to see a sickly Gwenpool. "What's up, gross Gwen? You okay there?" "Fun fact, bananas are like low-key radioactive. You just have to eat millions of bananas in one sitting to give yourself radiation poisoning. So you know what that means. Consume bananas with impunity." As Gross Gwen begins to cut the webbing, she tosses the bladed bracelet and tells her to keep the change. "Oh, and move to the left a little bit." Gross Gwen then throws the Geiger counter at Gwenpool's head, knocking her down, but also causing her to miss Spider-Man's latest thwip. Spider-Man then shouts, "Hey, how did you get free?" Gross Gwen puts on the disguise and yells, "Go on, you know where to hide." As Gwenpool takes off, an officer finds Gross Gwen telling her, "Hey, got the radiation sickness, I just puke. Ooh." Gwenpool then jumps off the panel and jumps up, but before falling into the gutter between the panels, she notices something different. The rest of her continuity is gone. Is this how it's going to end? Is she going to be retconned? It's not like she can go home. Doctor Strange made sure of that in the previous storyline. But just before falling into the void, Gwenpool sits on the panel stating, "There's gotta be something better. Maybe I can steal PIM particles. It worked for Scott Lang. Or maybe I could check Geagle. How to expose myself to radiation." As the search results flood in with links to places you might not think, Gwenpool then sees that she only has 2 more pages left before this book ends. So whatever it is, it's gotta work. Just then a rather intrusive thought balloon floats by and Gwenpool says, "What is it, girl? Are you trying to say something? Did the plot fall down a well?" Gwenpool sticks her head in it and sees herself lounging on a chair yelling, "Boy, oh boy, I just love breathing in all this radon gas. Thank you, Radioactive Man." Radioactive Man looks up, dropping his plate of bananas, asking, "Where the hell did you come from?" And then the Geiger counter starts to go crazy. Gwenpool pulls her head back, stating, "I really do love comics," and then proceeds to barf. And guess who just found out about a cool plot device which is basically gonna land herself a miniseries? It's Gwen. So, true believers, what you've learned is that Gwenpool can now alter reality by manipulating whatever happens off-panel. That means that she can flash back to stuff that's never even happened and make it happen. So back on page 15, panel 3, the now gross Gwen is cutting out past Gwen, telling her fun fact: bananas are low-key radioactive. Welcome back, true believers. It's everyone's favorite super person in the making. It's Gwenpool! And right now, it's time to prove to everyone that she isn't just like any other comic book character. And how is she going to do that? By kissing the readers, of course, and showing everyone her butt. But no, seriously. Back in the first issue of Gwenpool Strikes Back, it turns out that she has the ability to do what we're going to call flashback ability. It basically allows her to control anything that happens off-panel. It's pretty swag. However, OP or not, she still has to sell more comics. So, she decided to hire Deadpool for this issue. This would be weird for even him, but we all know that that's not true. And how are we gonna begin this super awesome, crazy adventure? By jumping panels. Deadpool then shows up, tripping over the page, shouting, "Ow! Why is everything black? Where are we?" Gwenpool climbs over him, telling him to be quiet. They are currently in the basement of the Fantastic Four's home, and right now they are on a search and seduce mission. So Deadpool sighs. I get it. I'm the last person who should be giving advice, but Gwenpool begins to dig through some of the machines, yelling, "No, that's exactly why you're here. You're gonna maximize the chaotic potential of this issue. You're like executive dysfunctional daddy. Not like daddy, but, well, you know, Papa Chaos. So load up on all the bad advice you got." Deadpool pauses for a moment, stating, "I'm, offended. Either way, if you're looking to load up on some questionable decisions, we're gonna start out with this life-size cutout of Reed Richards. Sure, these cardboard figures are from the Reagan era, but that doesn't mean they can't help us solve our problem. In fact, there's a whole set, so you better smack some lip gloss on because it's time to refine your makeout technique and make Deadpool proud. But before that, you don't have like a boyfriend or something?" She simply tells him, "Of course not. We broke up a while ago. And by a while ago, I literally mean within the time frame of saying that. I'm texting Choir right now that we're breaking up." And who's Choir? Well, stay tuned for another flashback to find out. Just not in this issue. So after dealing with that, Deadpool slaps a wedding dress onto Gwenpool, telling her, "All right, it's time. Did you bring me here to be the voice of reason or your agent of chaos?" Gwenpool stutters, trying to think of something to state, but Deadpool yells, "Ha! No thinking, only choosing." So she stops really quickly. I'm not sure. Voice of reason?" Deadpool shouts, "Good. Downside of seducing Reed." And Gwenpool stops him. "He's tied to Sue?" And Deadpool yells, "Correct! Now lay a practice smooch on this Reed-shaped coaster." That's when Deadpool pulls out the cutout of Sue and says, "Downside of seducing Sue." Gwenpool, without thinking about it, tells him that she's tied to Reed and the editors would never allow a disruption into an A-list superhero marriage. And Deadpool shouts, "Correct! Downside to seducing Ben Grimm." And Gwenpool says, "Well, he's married to Alicia, and that wouldn't even work for anatomical reasons." And Deadpool then stands up with a Johnny Storm cutout, asking, "What about him?" But the two of them just say, "Ew." And they both begin to laugh. But at that moment, the door opens and the real Reed Richards walks in. And Deadpool yells, "Now smooch! Smooch like I've never smooched before!" Gwenpool jumps forward, planting her lips onto the real Reed Richards, and thinks, "Yep, that's an actual face I'm kissing?" And as Reed asks, "Who?" Sue walks in stating, "I heard something. Is that my wedding dress?" Reed uncoils, shouting, "This is not what it looks like." And Gwenpool yells, "Yes, it is! Yes! You heard that, Dodson! That's the cover image!" And now that we got that out of the way, it's time to go take a shower and cuddle up with Jeff the Shark. Deadpool shouts, "I knew you had a boyfriend!" And Gwenpool tells him, "I don't! Jeff is my pet land shark and he..." But before Gwenpool could turn the page to show the pet land shark, Reed grabs the both of them stating, "You two aren't going anywhere. You just broke into our home." Reed drags the two of them out with Ben Grimm coming out of his room asking, "What's going on?" Deadpool then shouts, "I want to fight Big Boy over here. Do the magical meta thing, Gwenny. Free us!" And Gwenpool says, "Okay." And she bites down on Reed. He screams as he releases his grip on the two of them, and Deadpool attacks Ben Grimm with fruit snacks! He slaps packets of fruit snacks onto Ben as he yells, "Have some high fructose corn syrup!" The packet of fruit snacks falls to the ground with Ben turning around stating, "I am so going back to bed right now." Sue then begins to punch Gwenpool with her force fields, and Gwen asks, "Can I have like a little help over here, Deadpool?" But Deadpool tells her, "I'm on it. Just tying Reed to the lamppost outside. Has to work, right?" But as Reed unties himself, Deadpool says, "Right. Welp." As Deadpool begins to run back inside, Reed stretches, covering up both him and Gwenpool, leaving them trapped inside of, well, Reed. Deadpool then asks, "Hey, are you hungry? Because I got more fruit stacks left over." And so the two of them munch away on high fructose corn syrup, with Deadpool asking, "Yo, this is like your second issue, right? What did you do for your first?" Gwenpool tells him, "Well, I unmasked Spidey." And Deadpool shouts, "My boy? My special boy?" I really didn't mean to. Not like that anyway. I just wanted him to bite me for radioactive spidering reasons." Outside, Reed asks Sue, "Is this what it's like to be pregnant?" And Sue stops him, telling him, "No, absolutely not." But inside, Deadpool then says, "You know what this means, right?" She sighs, telling him, "I know. I'm gonna take a guess. It's the 'I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed' routine. I've heard that one before. I'm just an exceptionally disappointing individual." But then Gwenpool is smacked in the face with something metal. And Deadpool tells her, "Oh, well, there's that. But no, what I meant is I got a really big gun. See, if you had actually read my books, then you would know that I can never resist bad puns or big guns." As the two jumped into what can only be described as the white void between the comics, Deadpool says that was a pretty neat trick. And you're welcome, by the way. Gwenpool starts to catch her breath, asking, "What did you do? What are you saying you're welcome for?" So Deadpool pulls out the page telling her, "For the sales boost, of course. Get this chart titled, 'Should You Read Gwenpool?' The two of us share some similar qualities. We're both in comic books. We're both weird, and we're both pretty meta, and we break the fourth wall." The biggest difference is that if someone wants someone not so earnest, they'll read my comics. And if they want someone a little more earnest, they'll read your comics, Gwenpool. Anyway, take care of yourself, you little dingus. Just remember, it's all about those numbers. Gwenpool sighs, telling him, yeah, whatever. My numbers are fine. People love me. And after a sensible amount of time later looking through the sales reports, the numbers do appear to be good. Except they were good because she was bad. So in her first two issues of this miniseries, people seem to like her only when she's doing bad things. Oof. Better turn the page and get on with it. Which brings us to Gwenpool's third issue, Gwenpool's Island. 3 days later, on some remote island, all of Marvel's greatest heroes gather together to play volleyball at the request of a dying child. After staring at Captain America and Bucky in their swim trunks, Gwenpool then says that they look really good together. They should wrestle! Miss Marvel then pulls Gwenpool aside, stating that her only advice is that she should probably just read some fanfics. Whatever she wants, there's a fic about it. Don't actually have the Marvel heroes wrestle. So asking them to wrestle is probably a bad idea. Gwenpool then yells, asking, "What does it matter? I was the one who put this whole island together. I've got something for everyone." The varsity lineup is consisting of the big heroes currently popular right now. Here's the invented to be eye candy but given better character development later crew. And over here we have the popular with young readers, bewildering to the older readers game. So without further delay, let's get this show on the road. Gwenpool jumps up on stage, tapping the mic, telling everyone, hello everyone, welcome. As you all know, we're here to help a dying child in need. But what you don't know is that I am the child in need. That's right. My dying wish is for all of you to fight in a battle royale. But guess what? I'm going to win. It's also been brought to my attention that none of you take me seriously and you don't see me as a threat. That is why you were trapped here, so that we can have a practical demonstration of why you should all be afraid of me, okay? Everyone stares for a moment, and then they all burst out laughing. Thor tells her, "There's no way that we are going to fight each other." And Gwenpool tells him, "Actually, I can make you do that." See, this is a whole long explanation about how this island was built, but the key points are that each of you will have a color indicator above your heads. The same colors will have to fight in a one-on-one fashion, and if you don't, well, let's just say that there will be an irresponsible amount of lasers later. Iron Man then asks, "What about the people who are going to get hurt and injured? What happens then?" And Gwenpool explains, "If anyone forfeits, loses, or is unable to continue, they will immediately be removed from the battle arena and put into an area that is stocked with snacks." Iron Man then says, right, and he punches Cap. Cap gets back up and gets ready to take a swing, but before he can land his hit, Iron Man tells him, "I forfeit." Except Cap doesn't stop and knocks Iron Man out, who is later brought to the VIP lounge, where they do in fact have a lot of snacks. Cap then grabs Gwenpool, asking, "Are you out of your mind?" Gwenpool looks at the American hero and can't help but notice how pretty he is. Squirrel Girl then shouts that she has a question. "Is there gonna be a prize?" Gwenpool takes Cap's hand off of her, telling her, yes, in fact, Iron Man himself is donating a huge cash prize to the winner. No one heard about it because he said it off panel in Civil War II, issue 8. It was his last words before going into that 8-month coma. Squirrel Girl then shouts, "All right, well, I forfeit. I'd win anyway. And the cinema rolls are coming with me. Bad for the public image to have a death match with children." Gwenpool shouts, "That's right, smart. Be sure to join the Minecraft server later." As Squirrel Girl flies away, Cap says, "You know that you're not getting away with this, right? This ends now." But as Cap goes to grab her, Gwen ducks out of the way, telling him, "It ends when I say it ends. And to show you how serious I am, please welcome a caged Bruce Banner that is about to be uncaged. You might not believe me yet, and that's fine. We're gonna have a friendly demonstration. And this gun, well, this is the starting gun." She points it at Bruce Banner's head, and she fires. Soon everyone begins to have their colored indicators pop up above their heads, and everyone begins to scramble. Gwen then jumps down on the beach to get her picture for the cover art. But there's one thing that she really didn't take into account. That wasn't just a Bruce that she shot. That was Immortal Hulk Bruce, which means he's not dead. He currently has a purple color marker, which happens to be the same color picked for her. So yeah, next issue, Gwenpool versus the Immortal Hulk. Welcome back, true believers. Last time we left off, we were being chased by the Immortal Hulk. And don't mind the tapping, we're talking in Morse code. Well, if you're hearing this as words, then this is being read to you. But if you were reading it, then you'd see all of this written out in code. Cool, huh? Anyway, we're about to get away from the Hulk by doing the unthinkable, running away. And yes, while we run away from an angry Hulk, our ex, is live streaming from the spectator's booth. Guess there's a reason why he's our ex, right? We'll get into that in another issue. But while Gwenpool is actually running panel to panel, she stops to see Black Cat and Black Panther fighting. Get it? A cat fight! Except that was a bad idea. You see, the Hulk then caught up to Gwenpool and grabbed poor old Gwenpool, putting her down to the ground, smashing her. He then smashed her so hard that he threw her into the white space between the comics. Pretty powerful for a continuity character, huh? Now, that brings us to our next problem. In the white space, pretty sure concussed, there are now several fight markers above Gwenpool's head. Curse this ingenious design of a battle matchup mechanic. But as Gwenpool yells to herself, another off-panel version of herself leans in and takes one of those markers. Off-panel Gwenpool says to current Gwenpool, don't mind her. She just needs a few of those markers. And in doing so, that gave Gwenpool another idea. Just need to borrow some other versions of Gwenpool from other series. So we're gonna go to Superior Spider-Man, get that Gwenpool. Go on over to the West Coast Avengers, get that Gwenpool. There's a Gwenpool that appeared in Champions. We're gonna pull that one in. Rocket Raccoon and Groot series, yeah, that Gwenpool, she's coming for a visit. And lastly, the unbelievable Gwenpool, you know, the fan favorite. Now there are 6 Gwenpools from various series across her continuity, and they're going to draw upon the powers of the Gwen Hive to crowdsource Hulk fighting situations. First, we need to borrow some of the fight markers from previous panel Gwenpool, like so. Viewers, if you hadn't figured it out, Gwenpool's the ultimate fourth wall breaking character, and now she's talking to herself in different versions of her character. Anyway, there are some other Gwenpools that we could have gotten to join this, like the Howard the Duck Gwenpool, but she's looking a little bit rough. And then there's also Gwen Prime, but she just flat out said no. And just like that, she disappeared out of existence. So mysterious. Unbelievable Gwenpool then asks, why are we fighting a Hulk? What did we do to make him so mad? So our current Gwenpool tells Marshmallow Gwenpool that they shot Bruce Banner in the face. Next question. Marshmallow Gwenpool cries shouting, "You are so evil! This is our last story and you shot Bruce? People are gonna hate us!" Gwenpool then yells, "Look, I'm really trying here, okay? We've been given one last shot to prove our worth to the higher-ups over at Marvel, and everything that I have done has been about saving our life. So far, it's potentially working. We have about 1.5 issues left to pull this off. Now brainstorm, Gwenpools." So Rocket Raccoon's appearance yells, "I got guns." And Gwenpool says, "All right, well, that's not gonna work. We have to hurry up, and based on the sounds of a stomping Hulk, we have very little time to do so focus." All the Gwenpools then begin to huddle up and they begin to share their ideas. All of them were awful, by the way. All except one. West Coast Avengers suggests that they use Mjolnir. The only issue is that they can't lift Thor's mighty hammer, which gives Gwenpool an idea. Continuity splunking! But wait, can't we like Voltron or something? All the Gwenpools form up into one giant Gwenpool? And after having an awkwardly silent chest bump and nothing happening, it's time to go. So she's gonna go get the continuity splunking thing done. While all of the stolen Gwenpools now begin to battle the Hulk, our Gwenpool dives down into the pits of comic book continuity for Thor until she finds exactly what she is looking for. She finds Malekith. Malekith, for those who don't know, likes to sleep with the severed arm of Thor. You know, like it's a trophy. Or maybe not. Who really knows what Malekith is doing? He's the Lord of the Dark Elves. Now, back in Gwenpool's comic, Gwenpool jumps back on panel with her arm inside of the larger Thor arm like an arm glove. She tells Thor, who's currently fighting against Ms. Marvel, that she's going to have to borrow his hammer for a second. Thor looks at her and asks, "Is thine rotting arm Thor's former appendage?" Gwenpool says, "Yeah, it with my good You guys can fill in the blank. Because right now, we have Thor's arm wielding Mjolnir, and we throw it at the Immortal Hulk, and she throws it at the Immortal Hulk's more sensitive area. Also, Champion's Gwenpool, she died. So this is for her. She loved hot dogs, and she'll be eating hot dogs in our hearts forever. A few seconds later, Hulk comes crashing into the spectator's booth, and he begins wreaking havoc because he lost to the severed arm of Thor. Gwenpool stands triumphantly over them, telling them, "All right, now that that's over, who's next?" She then watches as her fight marker slowly changes to blue, which happens to be the same color as Miss Marvel's since she defeated Thor because he didn't have his hammer. So now Gwenpool's big boss fight is going to be against Kamala Khan, fan favorite. Yikes. Welcome back, true believers. Now, some of you are expecting a fight with Kamala Khan based on our last video / comic book. And you'd be right. But why am I in a bee costume? Well, the answer is simple. Because. Because it fits a theme. Bee costume, jar of bees, releasing said jar of bees on Frank Castle as he sleeps only to do it over and over again. You see? Theme. But everyone is right. There's a fight that needs to happen in the final issue, and a fight we're going to get. After hopping back onto the island that Gwen created, she gleefully runs over to Miss Marvel, telling her that they should really get this going, and she pinches her. Miss Marvel tells her that she really doesn't want to fight. Heck, her and Miles just played Red Hands. Gwen tells her that it's okay. How about they play rock, paper, scissors? Miss Marvel stares for a moment as Gwen goes on and says that they should talk. Gwen, you don't seem okay. The wackiness, the antics, it's gotten a lot worse. And to someone who knows you, someone who's seen your antics in the past, all of this, everything you've been doing, it seems more manic. Clearly bothered, Gwen pulls away, telling her that there's nothing wrong. Are we gonna fight or not? Miss Marvel tells her that it's real obvious that there is something wrong. Just tell her what's going on. She wants to help. Gwen spins back, swinging her arm, shouting that the only way that she can help is by fighting. And Miss Marvel quickly grows to avoid being hit, and giant sizes to stop Gwen from hurting herself. Gwen struggles to free herself, shouting, "Put me down! Put me down now!" And Miss Marvel tells her, okay. But as she does, she stays large. Gwen asks, why is she all the way up there? Are you afraid it's not going to be a fair fight? And Miss Marvel shrinks back down, telling her, of course it wouldn't be a fair fight. You have powers. You can teleport, pull things out of thin air, know things that you shouldn't. You sometimes even alter reality, Gwen. You totes have powers. That or you're conspiring with the bad guys, but we both know you're not into that. Gwen begins to cry, telling her that she has no idea how much that means to hear. And Miss Marvel sits on the beach, patting the ground, telling her, how about we talk first and then we punch? Gwen drags her feet, telling her, okay, Mama Kamala. Miss Marvel tells her that that better not stick. Now, be honest. What are you? Are you inhuman, Gwen? An irradiated human? Human passing for alien? Where did your powers come from? And Gwen tells her that they already know that. She's not from this world. She's from a place where all the people here, they're comic book characters. And there's no way to prove that because Doctor Strange mystically removed all of her ties to her past so that she could survive in the Marvel Universe. Gwen gets up and starts to walk away, but Miss Marvel blocks her path, telling her to hang on a second. What if maybe her powers develop and that's why she doesn't know where she's come from? It's natural for some species to develop powers late in their life, especially around adolescence. Gwen listens as Miss Marvel goes on and tears begin to stream down her cheeks as she yells, stop! Just stop! It's true. I made it all up. The other worlds, where I'm from, none of it is reality. Miss Marvel runs over, hugging Gwen, telling her, as she's so proud of her for admitting that. No matter what, they'll figure it all out, her past, her history, her powers. And she steps back, telling her, there's one more thing. I forfeit. Congrats on the victory. Killed me with kindness. As sparklers and fireworks go off, Miss Marvel looks around, asking where did Gwen go? Meanwhile, in the white space between the comic panels, Gwen begins to walk through the last few pages, stating that I'm not a mutant. I've known that since issue 1. All of this is just so tiring. No one will miss me anyway. As she sits on the edge of her ending, a Krakoan gate appears. She asks if it's the light at the end of the tunnel or, and with one last sigh, she says that she already feels like a ghost. So who cares? She jumps through the gate, stepping into Krakoa. And she asks, wait, am I a mutant now? Do I get to exist? That's when Wolverine puts his hand on Gwen's shoulder, telling her that she's safe. She doesn't have to worry about what's behind her. They just need Jean to telepath, and she stops yelling him, no telepaths! And another voice chimes in. You know, that makes sense. Gwen looks over to see Quentin, who goes on telling her that dating him would ruin other telepaths for her forever. She jumps on Quentin, shouting, hi, I broke up with you, but here we are. And Quentin asks, did you miss me so much that you came all the way to Krakoa? Even though that wasn't the case, Gwen shouts that she sure did. Just give her a second to find some white space. She aimlessly flails her arms around until she grabs the edge of the panel and she begins to pull herself up. And as she does, she sees that she has a future, one that has actual multiple paths. Then she checks how many pages she has left. 3. So let's just write some things down and future-proof stuff for the next writer and, well, a future Gwen did appear at the end of Unbelievable Gwenpool when she was feeling defeated about the first series ending. So there had to be a future, right? This must mean that she's currently in between those two versions. She's a bridge Gwen. She might not be the bright-eyed Gwen that everyone fell in love with, but if they ever want to come and visit and read the miniseries again, they can relive it all over again. So, big thanks to all the true believers out there. Love you. And one last thing. The end. And there you have it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to know when we put out another full story over here. We're doing 3 a week right now and would love to have you a part of the family. And don't forget to check out the original channel, Comicstorian, where we cover these comics as they're coming out and then eventually turn them into these larger videos.